Morning. I'm Etta Madden, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
And I'm Deb Gallion, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Christ sends us, not alone, but always together. When we are community with and for each other, we uphold the work of love. The world needs healers, people who feed, holders of sorrow, and preachers of good news. And this labor, though it is challenging, promises to fulfill, to nourish, and to mend what is broken.
We remember what God has done, the stories of our ancestors through whom God did the impossible. We open ourselves to what this moment and these days ask of us, trusting that come what may, we have each other. Bound together by the Spirit of the Holy One, we endeavor to take care of one another. Because we are baptized into the family of God, we live in sacred community, bearing one another's burdens, rejoicing in each other's gladness, and being transformed by the slow work of mutual accountability. We give thanks, for we need not journey alone. As we gather this morning, you are invited to join in singing Tell Me the Stories of Jesus, number 190 in the Chalice Hymnal. We'll sing verses 1 and 2. If you're in person, we invite you to stand as you are able. If you're joining us online, we invite you to sing loud and strong from your couch, your car, or wherever you may be. We welcome one another as we join our voices together wherever we are. Mark Iaconelli writes, "We are relational beings. We need others in order to become ourselves. We need relationship to access the deepest gifts of our humanity. We need relationships to live lives that are productive, loving, and meaningful. Sharing stories is how we make a home within ourselves and one another. Story is how we put together the broken pieces. Story is how we identify and heal the suffering within and among us. The practice of storytelling, particularly when sharing the real stories from our own living, tethers us to what matters most, our families, our friends, nature, the hearts we carry, the wondrous mystery of life itself. In sharing our stories, we bring and become light to one another."
This morning, we light a new Christ candle, gifted to our church by our mentors and leaders of the Bethany Fellowship, to celebrate our partnership in the 2-year partnership pilot program of Bethany congregations. This morning, we have a special guest from another of those Bethany pilot churches, Foothills Christian Church in Glendale, Arizona. Please help us welcome Natalie Romanoff and her husband, who will ask you like a
In this light, we point to this moment burning in our midst to claim a hope leading us forward. May we go with courage.
Mark Yaconelli also writes, "In all my careful listening, I've observed how speaking our stories can liberate us individually and collectively, at times transforming residents into neighbors, enemies into friends, and towns into communities. In doing this work, it has become apparent to me that the power of story is the power of relationships. In other words, giving testament to our experience generates meaning when it connects us to people, the earth, the sacred, our pasts, our own inner gifts, and our wounds. Through this work, I've come to believe that all human divisions, both within and between us, can begin to be healed through listening and sharing stories. Peace comes when we listen deeply. Peace comes when we risk sharing our lives. May the heart of peace be with you, and also with you." To those online, we invite you to share this ancient greeting in the chat. For those in the sanctuary, we invite you to turn to the cameras and say hello to all who are worshiping us within digital space this morning. For those in the sanctuary, you're invited to share this ancient greeting with those seated near you.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to National Avenue Christian Church. My name is Ashley Quinn. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am very glad to see all of you this morning. We have some visitors with us, which is exciting. We have some old-timers with us here, which is exciting. So thank you for everyone who is here with us today. Was that a woo from an old-timer? Or okay, very good. Yeah, I don't know. So thank you for being here this morning. We do have an opportunity for you to check in and let us know that you're here. If you want to leave some contact information, great. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So that'll be up on a slide here in just a second. But somebody has to do double duty when I jump down out of the tech booth, so we'll give them just a second to catch up there. It's also in your bulletins if you would like to use that QR code. You can hold your phone like you're taking a picture with the camera app, and it'll take you to the website. If you're online, we'll be dropping that link in the comments where you can do that online as well. So thank you for checking in with us if you're able to do that. We have an opportunity to kind of check in person. So that's Conversations at the Mule on Tuesdays at 10:30 in the morning. So we'll have a group of folks there. You're welcome to have some tea or some coffee or something like that, a breakfast treat. And if that's not a good time for you and you'd like to connect more, have some coffee or go for a walk or something like that throughout the week, that is an option as well. Just a note, it's not going to be on a slide, but our lead pastor, Jen Simmons, is out of town doing family activities today. She'll be back later on tonight, so she'll be here next week. She's just not here right now. We are, each month we gather something for the folks at Crosslines that is usually a kind of hygiene item, those kinds of things that folks can't get with their food stamp benefits, but are things that people very much need. So this month we're gathering up some shampoo. So if you want to grab some extra on your weekly shopping trip, if that's online and you want to ship it directly to the church, you're welcome to do that. So that's an option for you there. There is Pride Night is happening this Tuesday night at the Springfield Cardinals game. I think we still have a few tickets in the office that are free if anyone would like to pick up a ticket and go to the Cardinals game. That's an option. 7:05 game on that. The False White Gospel, the book study that we're going to be doing with that. Candy Adams is leading that. She'll say more about that during the offertory moment, I believe. But that starts tonight from 5 to 7 p.m. If you were waiting on a copy of, if you asked the church to order you a copy of the book, it took forever to get here for some reason, but it's here now. So if you have not picked up your copy in the office, they're here. See, proof. We have the books. So you can come, you can stop in the office afterwards and pick one up, or you can grab that one off the communion table if you want. We are having a congregational meeting next Sunday. So this will be an opportunity for us to consider leadership for the incoming, or for the upcoming year, and to thank those who have served in leadership positions over the past year, and learn a little bit more about some of the vision and ideas that we have going forward for the church. So everyone is welcome to attend that and learn more about that. So that'll be right after service next Sunday. We are looking to fill in a little bit on the greeter side of things on Sunday mornings. So if you are interested in that and kind of being at the door or maybe even out in the parking lot to greet folks as folks come in, there's a QR code there. It's also in your avenues that came out on Friday that you can click that link or scan that code and let us know if you would like to sign up for that. We have a couple more sign-up opportunities coming up on other slides as well. One of them is Tales Over Table. In the community survey that we recently did, several folks said that they would love more opportunities outside of church to get to know and connect with one another. So this is one of those ways. Some folks might remember Dinners for 8. I don't remember that, but some of you may. And so it's a similar concept to that. But there's an opportunity here. There's 2 different QR codes if you want to be a host. So that we kind of... Ideally, we pick like a week out of the month, and we'll try to do all of them in that week, but they might be at different times. It might be like Tuesday night is best for some people, or Sunday lunch is better for other people, or something like that. So if you are interested in hosting, and then you can kind of pick the time that's good for you to do that. And hosting could be hosting people in your own home. It could be hosting people in the parlor at church. Could be hosting people out at a restaurant somewhere. It doesn't mean you need to pick up the tab, FYI. Everyone can pick up their own, but so there's opportunities for hosting there, and if you would like to be a guest at one of those, there's another link for that. Both of those links are also in the avenues that came out on Friday. We have a couple of opportunities for an all-church cleanup. Gina is gathering folks together for Thursday evening after work. Hopefully it will have cooled off a little bit by 6 o'clock. So from 6 to 8 on Thursday, or starting on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. And she did ask me to remind you that young people are encouraged and invited to participate. If your knees bend easily, if your elbows bend easily, please come on out and help us with some yard work around the church. And now I believe we have our moment of cue with Jody. Thank you all.
I'm Pastor Jody, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and you have given me the honor of working on this play that we are giving our community for our 75th anniversary. It is getting close. July 12th, did I drop my Post-it? Yes, I did. July 12th, 13th, and 14th. And as I warned you last week, even though many of you have already been working on the production, that we are coming to the place that are all hands on deck, where there's things for everybody to do. First, I want you to put on your calendar July 7th. July 7th, after church, we will be moving the set into the sanctuary after church. This is not just for people who can lift and carry and build. This is also for others because there are all kinds of details that everybody can help with that day. So July 7th, if you can stay after church. And then this one for sure everybody can do. At both doors, there are these beautiful, thank you Haley and Deb Gallion for taking the picture. There are these beautiful flyers for our show with the QR code for people to make reservations, even though the show is free. There's big piles there and there's big piles there, so take a couple, take 3, and take them to the places you go and ask if you can put them up or lay them on a counter. Just any place where folks will see them and know about our show. Well, there'll be more to do next week, but we'll wait until then for that. At this moment, I would invite you to take a breath, feel the love in this room, feel that you are being held in the hands of the divine as we prepare to hear the story from our ancestors.
We'll be reading excerpts from the Gospel according to Luke chapter 8.
A story based on Luke 8, 5 through 15. A storyteller went to cast his stories out into the world with passion and abandon. Some of his stories fell upon ears that had been hardened by the traffic of the world, beaten down by care and trauma. Those ears could not hear the stories at all. The stories flew right past them.
Some fell on ears that were set in their ways, like stone. They heard the stories, but the stories could not get past their petrified ideas.
Some stories fell on ears that were distracted by their hunger to gather up all the noise of the world and use it to their advantage. They too heard the stories and wanted to add them to their hoard, but the cacophony of their gasping drowned out the stories, and they were forgotten.
But some fell on ears that were open and ready. They took the stories in, remembered them, played with them in their imaginations, made them their own. Those are the ones who then went out to cast their stories into the world with passion and abandon. Then the storyteller said, "May the ones with those ears hear." A reading to ground us in our tradition and spark our imaginations as co-creators. Amen.
Good morning. I'm Tina Stillwell, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I would invite you to assume whatever posture you're comfortable with as we prepare for our community prayer. Maybe you've got a bowed head. Maybe you're just looking out the window. Anything that's comfortable for you. And take a deep breath and feel the love and the joy and the safety in this place. God of wild imagining, you beckon us to feel the stirring, the possibility, the joy of love. Often we resist. We tell and retell stories of scarcity. If we are really honest, if we tell the truth, we are afraid. We can't quite see the possibility of life-giving systems. They feel out of grasp, just out of reach. When we doubt the possibility of love, help us to be gentle with ourselves and others. Help us to release stories that do not serve us or the greater good. Give us spaces and people that spark creativity. We feel the impulse in our being, pulling us to be curious, ask more questions, dream big. Go forth and love, spread love wildly. This spirit seeks something good storytellers know. Love is possible. Love is already here, waiting for us to name it, claim it, and spread it. Go forth and love, spread love wildly. May it be so.
When somebody loved me, everything
Thank you, choir, for sharing that story in music with us. And thank you for having me preach today. As many of you know, preaching is not my primary calling. But today, it turns out, I was grateful for the opportunity to tell this church how much I love you and to let you know what I've been thinking about lately. Well, there are many things I love about National Avenue Christian Church. One of the biggies is I love that this congregation embraces curiosity and imagination. And I appreciate your willingness to explore difficult topics together. This spring, I was amazed at the way a church from a non-creedal tradition, and for anyone that is unaware of what is meant by non-creedal, it means our tradition does not require that people must accept one certain set of beliefs, and that we are instead bound together as Christ's disciples, just like the name says, those who respond to Jesus' call of follow me. And that folks from such a tradition would spend literally months studying John Shelby Spong's Unbelievable is, well, unbelievably cool. Because this book is a challenge to creedal religious beliefs. And while we all experienced it very differently, many of us engaged with it rigorously. Well, during this time, I found it very helpful, thanks to John White, to remember the distinction between belief, that in which we consent to intellectually, even if there is no evidence, between the difference between belief and trust, that in which we would entrust our lives, our very being. I thought about that differentiation between belief and trust a great deal. And so as we move into our next area of concentration, the importance of sharing stories in our lives, I thought I would begin by sharing with you one of my core, not beliefs, trusts. Because I trust in the power of story. I trust the power of story to bind me to others and to all that is as I step into a place of empathy with the heart and mind of someone else. I trust in the power of story to teach me the way I want to be and to show me the way I don't want to be. And I trust in the power of story to give me the courage to act, to live my life fully, and to risk sharing it with others. Now, to delve deeper into what I'm trying to express, I thought I would tell you some stories. So first, the power of story to bind. When I was 9 or 10 years old, some civic leaders in Coffeyville, Kansas, decided to bring a passion play to the big old city auditorium. Locals played all the extras, and my father volunteered me to be one of the children who Jesus blesses in Let the Children Come to Me scene. The director placed me just upstage of Jesus' knee in the one position where an imaginative 9-year-old looking raptly up into the lead actor's face could actually upstage Jesus. But Jesus was being played by a veteran actor, and he knew exactly how to get back focus. He placed his hand on my head for the blessing and leaned in to me. I was hooked. Not just bound to the story of Jesus, but also to this magical place called the theater, where I could enter the heart and the mind of a child who maybe existed or maybe didn't back in Jesus' day. It didn't matter. It didn't matter to me if that child was real or not, because my thoughts and my feelings were real. The power of story to teach. Now, this is not my story, but it is one that changed my life with what it taught me. I probably have told it to some of you before, but it bears repeating. Many years after Jesus blessed me, I was acting in a very long run of No Sex Please, We're British at the Old Log Theater in Greenwood, Minnesota. Now, this play was a perennial favorite with audiences, and it had been done many times at the Old Log Theater before. One evening in the dressing room, the three of us who played the younger women in the show were putting on our makeup, and we were lamenting that this silly little sex farce was not how we thought we'd be changing the world with our talent. But oh well, a job's a job. The one older actress who was playing the mother, Pamela Dancer, gently asked if she could tell us a story. She reminded us how for years she had taken her children with her to a summer camp where she taught. Her oldest had always gone along with the family every year until she was 25, but then decided she was done. And it was near the end of that summer that Pam got a call at camp that her eldest had committed suicide. She gathered the other children, she came home, and she went through the motions. The funeral, visits by family and friends, all the things you do. And then once school started, she would get the kids fed and off each morning. And then when they were taken care of, she would sit in her darkened living room and stare at a wall until they came home. And nobody noticed that she never wept. That's the state she was in when Don Stoltz, the owner of the Old Log, called and asked if she would replace an actress who was taking a role elsewhere. The play they were doing was No Sex Please, We're British. Pam was not in a position to turn down a job, so that night she went to the theater to sit in the actors' seats at the back to watch the show. She told us, watching this silly little sex farce, she said, I couldn't help it. I began to smile. And then I began to laugh. And then I began to weep. So she taught me to never underestimate the healing power of theater, of story, because No Sex Please had saved her. The power of story to give us the courage to act. This is a change of pace because this last story is about a lawyer, not an actor. Chris Pearson was a member of the church where my husband Jimmy and I accidentally started a community theater. Chris had never done theater before, but he volunteered to help, and so we asked him to be one of Jacob's sons in our first, and we thought only production, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Oh, and Chris had a great time. But in our next surprise production 2 years later, which was Godspell, Chris was very surprised when we asked him to play Jesus. His wife was even more surprised. Chris took the part, but he was anxious. Being in plays was new to him, and he was very afraid of messing up, especially considering the part he was playing. He worked so hard learning his part, and he was really quite good. But in one performance, the thing that has happened to every actor ever, and probably every lawyer ever, happened to Chris. He flubbed. He went up on a line big time and began to panic. Now, he knew he was supposed to be telling a story, so he blurted out, "Let me tell you a story." But still, nothing came. then drawing on his memory to say absolutely anything he could think of relevant to the Jesus story, all he could think of was the name of an old Cecil B. DeMille movie. And so he said, "It's the greatest story ever told." Well, the cast immediately cracked up. It's a community theater, as did the audience. And in that moment, the tension released, and Chris remembered what he was supposed to say as his fear subsided. And for 22 years since, he has courageously stepped up every 2 years to join his community in telling a story. He played Drake the Butler in Annie just this spring. Being vulnerable and taking a risk is always part of the act of storytelling. But finding the courage to share yourself is often the reward. Well, it may or may not be the greatest story ever told, but since that passion play in Coffeyville, I can honestly say I trust the power of the Jesus story. I trust that story to bind us together in a way that centers on how we treat each other and all creation. I trust that story to teach us the ways of healing and wholeness, as well as to warn us of the destructive paths we should probably avoid. And I trust the Jesus story to give us the courage to let Jesus' story shape our lives. Just as a non-creedal tradition doesn't expect folks to believe one certain thing, our storytelling may take many surprising forms. Some of us may tell our stories in painting or over tables gathered over a meal. Some may tell our stories in dance or in justice work, in parenting, in faithful relationship, in our self-care, in theater, in teaching, in good lawyering, in music, and in song. So many different ways, on and on, how we can tell our stories. But no matter the form, the power of our stories and of Jesus' stories is always revealed when we take the stories in, when we remember them, when we play with them in our imagination so we can make them our own. And then we become the ones who can go out and cast our stories out into the world with passion and abandon. And then the storyteller said, "May the one with those ears hear." May it be so for us.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Candy Adams. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm here to share in ministry with you. My question to you is, what is your gift and what can you give? How do you share your talent? How do you discover your talents? How do you discover your gifts? There's simple ways to do it, and there's complicated ways, of course. Simply study, meditate, and then facilitate the giving of your gifts. In other words, action. We are entering into a study this evening of our scripture, our church, our relationships, and ourselves with race bias in our history. We're reading the False White Gospel by Jim Wallace, along with When God Became White by Grace Yun-Sun Kim. It will be an in-depth study on white Christian nationalism, where we are. As Christians, do we fit into Christian nationalism or not? Or, what's going on with that? But as we give our gifts this morning to this church and its programs, we want to be vigilant as to where these gifts are going. What are we giving to? This is true in all of life. Am I giving the best of me to my relationships, to my church, to other organizations? Think about it, pray about it, and share. The offering will now be given and received.
in prayer. God, we are grateful for the gifts that you poured out on us so generously. And we thank you for the stories that you have revealed to us, stories that inspire and help us to see you, help us to see each other the way you see us. God, we pray that our gifts this morning might be part of that story, that you would guide us in our decision-making, guide us in the ways in which we use our talents and time to lift each other up, to recognize the value in each person and each thing, and to care for the earth and all the things that you have provided for us. Help us to truly be your instruments in this community and in the wider world. We pray through Jesus. Amen.
I want a story big enough to hold all our stories. Big enough to hold the deepest despair and unspeakable joy.
Big enough to drown out all the fear-mongering.
Big enough to birth
hope irrepressible.
Big enough to move us toward our neighbor's need.
Big enough to change the world. I want a table big enough to feed the world.
Big
Big enough to fill the emptiness, not just in our bellies, but also the hunger of our hearts.
Big enough to hold us in community. Big
Big enough to end our endless greed for more power and prestige. Big enough to overflow with gratitude and generosity. Big enough to change the world.
I want a love big enough to save us from ourselves.
Big enough to end our self-destructive misuse of the planet. Big enough to reveal the way to liberation.
Big enough to free us from the need to judge others. Big enough to teach us acceptance of one another. Big enough to change the world.
We gather in this story, at this table, with this love.
On the night of his arrest, Jesus shared a meal with his companions. He took bread, blessed it, broke it, gave it to his disciples, and said, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me."
After the meal, he took the cup, he blessed it, and shared it, saying, "This cup that's poured out is the new covenant." Here we remember his story, his table, his love. And we give thanks that big enough, we are enough to change the world.
Let us pray. We humbly come before you, divine creator. We know we are not perfect, and we ask your forgiveness at this time when we come to the table. Your arms are open, and we welcome the embrace and join you at this meal of love. Thank you for being here with us. May it be so.
if you would. I want to remind you to take those posters when you leave. They're on both tables here. Take them, spread them out to all your friends, and stand as you are able, and let's sing our hymn of sending, number 480, verses 1 and 3. Space, made holy by each beautiful story, each life, love enfleshed through each hue, each a reflection of the joy and love in creation. Each claimed good, very good, claimed by love. Sometimes we get to see glimmers of this love. Sometimes we get moments to see it, experience it, celebrate it, and have just enough space to know we have been in love's dwelling. May you be so blessed to get to have experiences of the diversity and goodness of the radically diverse presence of love and claim them. May you offer your gratitude for the stories that offer hope, challenge, faith, struggle, and share the power of this human experience. May it be so as you go into the days ahead.